Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a nice slow class to help with any low back pain. So we're going to open up the hips and take it nice and slow. We're going to start on our belly, so you're going to come on to the ground, stack one hand on top of the other, and then rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Elbows can be out nice and wide. Neck is relaxed, jaws relaxed, head and forehead is resting down on those hands. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, and let's take a couple deep breaths. Start to relax the body and move into the following postures nice and slow. When you're ready, we're going to take our hands and we're going to bring them underneath the shoulders. And we're going to come into Cobra Pose. So zip up the legs, tops of the feet down into the ground. Hands come underneath the shoulders and then gentle lift away from the floor. And just to the fullest that you can go. So maybe it's a tiny little cobra. Maybe you can extend the arms and shine the chest forward for full cobra. So just straighten the arms as much as feels good for your body. Take a deep breath in. And we'll lower back down on the exhale. And we're going to do that a few more times. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. One more time. Inhale, shine the chest forward. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. And on the exhale, bend the knees, send the hips back, child's pose. Big toes to touch, knees out nice and wide. And forehead can come down onto the mat, or if you need a block to rest your forehead, feel free to take that as well. Relax the head, relax the hips down onto the heels. And feel a nice opening through the muscles of the spine. Take one more deep breath. And on your exhale, let's come into a tabletop position. So hands are going to come underneath the shoulders, knees are going to come underneath the hips. Feet and shins are parallel to each other so that if you look beneath your knee or in between your knees, you don't see your feet. So let's ground into the fingertips, drop the belly, gaze forward, push the chest through the shoulders. Exhale, round the spine, push the floor away, tuck the chin to the chest. So let's move through this cat-cow, following your own breath, your own movement. If you notice that you find a good spot or maybe you want to take some circles, feel free to find whatever movement feels good to your body. Just try to keep the arms nice and straight and try not to make all this movement happen with the neck. Try to really feel it in the spine, all the way from the shoulders to the hips. Loosening up that low back, the mid back, upper back, full spine. And when you're ready, we'll find a nice neutral tabletop position. Let's take that right leg out nice and long behind us, and then slide that foot in between the hands. We're going to stack that knee right on top of that left or that right ankle. So if you have any knee issues, feel free to place a blanket underneath that left knee, and we'll go ahead and rise up. So from here, we want to push the hips forward. We want to drop them towards our right heel. You want to feel a nice stretch through that left hip flexor, and maybe even lift the left arm up nice and high, and maybe find a back bend if it feels okay. Engage the belly, gentle lean. Feel that nice stretch through the psoas of that left leg. And exhale, let's bring the hands down. We're going to straighten through that right leg. So let's find our blocks here. Pull the right toes back towards the face and sit up nice and tall here with your upper body. So we're going to bend the knee here and we're going to pull that sit bone back and straighten through the spine. So rather than rounding here, we're going to work our hamstring only. So keep the back nice and straight and put a generous bend in that right knee. And when you feel like your back is nice and straight and you're really pulling your seat away from your heel, then you can start to straighten the leg, but make sure that that back stays nice and straight. Using your blocks for support. Deep breaths, breathe into that right hamstring. And if this feels okay on your back and you want a little bit more, you can walk those blocks to the outside of that right foot and take a little twist. And then let's come back through center. You can go ahead, relax those blocks away from you. Let's bend into that right knee, and we're going to take our right foot and scooch it over to the right side of our mat. So both hands are going to come to the inside of that right foot. We're going to drop the hips once again. If you need blocks for support, feel free to lengthen with the blocks so you can lengthen the spine. Again, pushing the hips down. If you feel like you can go deeper, you can drop down onto the hands. And maybe even the elbows here, but let's try to keep the back a little straighter and not too round. Take the right toes and point them to the top right corner of the mat. Take the left hand beneath the gaze, right hand on the right knee, twist towards the right, gaze over your right shoulder. Again, if this feels okay, it feels okay on your left knee, you can bend the left leg, reach back with the right hand and grab a little stretch. Let's come back through center. We're going to plant the hands and we're just going to send that right foot back to join the left and come back into our tabletop position. Let's take the left foot, send it back, and then slide it in between the hands. Stack that left knee right on top of that left ankle. Let's rise up, reach the arms up overhead, and sink the hips down. Again, finding a blanket underneath that right knee if you need to. And if you want a little more, you can take that right arm, reach it up and back. Feel a little back bend opening through that right hip flexor. Try to keep the belly nice and engaged here. And when you're ready, we'll go ahead, plant the hands, grab for those blocks, straighten through the left leg, left toes pull back towards the face. And we'll find a little stretch for that hamstring. So generous bend here in that left leg, back stays nice and straight. Pull the sit bone back. So when we have tight hamstrings and we try to straighten our leg, we round through the spine. So we want to bend the knee and pull that sit bone back, lengthen through the spine. And then we can work on straightening the leg, and eventually we'll be able to find full extension of that hamstring. Keep pulling the toes back towards the shin. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and bend back into that left leg. Place your blocks to the side. Let's scooch that left foot towards the left side of the mat. Both hands come to the inside of that left foot. Option to stay up on those blocks or drop down onto the hands. Try to keep that spine straight and try to keep hugging that left knee towards the shoulder. Don't let it go too far out. Let's take the left toes and turn them towards the top left corner of the mat. Right hand goes beneath the gaze. Left hand on the left knee. Gentle push and gaze over the left shoulder. And stay here if you already feel a stretch. If this feels pretty accessible to you, start with bending the back leg. And if that's easy, then reach back with the left hand. If any of that starts to cause any problems, just stay in the first position. Deep breath in. And let's go ahead and release that down. Send that left foot back to join the right. Hands will go a little bit wider. Tuck the toes under. We're going to drop the belly slightly and lift the hips up nice and high for a downward facing dog. So we're going to bend the knees a lot here and straighten through the spine. Biceps by the ears. Tailbone lifts. And if that feels okay, then you can start to straighten through the legs. But as soon as you feel that back round, you want to bend the knees and straighten the spine. Pull the shoulder blades down the back. And let's go ahead and gaze in between our hands and step a little bit behind our hands with our feet. Bring our feet hip width distance wide, maybe a little wider if it feels better on your back. Bend the knees a lot here. Generous bend in the knees to release that low back. Sometimes forward folds can be a little much. If you have any bulging discs or herniated discs, we want to avoid any forward folds and stick to any extensions that we do. Let's start to bend the knees, straighten through the spine, and rise all the way up. Reach the arms overhead. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Let's go ahead, inhale, reach up. Take your right hand, grab your left wrist, gentle lean over to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, over to the left. Inhale, rise all the way back up. Let's go ahead, bring our hands in heart center, toes out, heels in, bring the feet as wide as the mat, and we'll sit it down for a Malasana yogi squat. So if you need a block for support here, feel free to find that seat on that block, sit up nice and tall, drive the heels down towards the ground. If this is too much, then just keep your hips nice and lifted. Take a nice deep breath in. Let's bring the hands down onto the ground and one knee at a time help ourselves onto our booty. So to support our spine, we want to make sure we have a nice strong core. So we're going to make our way all the way down onto our back. And we're going to start with our feet down on the ground, knees bent. Let's lift our right leg away from the floor, make that shin parallel to the ground. And then we're going to go ahead and just switch it out. We're going to bring that right foot down and lift the left leg up. We want to push the belly into the floor, decrease the space between your low back and the mat, and really engage the belly. Let's switch it out once again. Now, if this feels very accessible to you, we're going to add in arms. We're going to reach the arms up overhead, and we're going to drop the left arm as the right toes come down and come back through center. And then the left toes are going to come down, and the right arm is going to reach back. And we're just going to do this nice and slow. Really feel that low back pushing into the mat. If you feel like that low back is lifting away from the ground, then just try to keep a toe on the ground at all times. Engage the belly. Last 3. Last 2. And 1. Go ahead, hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. And this time we're going to bring the shins parallel to the ground, push that low belly into the mat. We're going to lift the head, neck, and shoulders off of the mat and gaze down at the navel. Hug the belly in nice and tight. Hug the left knee towards the forehead, extend the right leg up towards the sky. And then switch it out. Right knee in, left leg extends. One more, you got it. Lift it up. And switch it out. Let's hug the knees into the chest. Let's gently roll onto our left side, use our left bicep as a pillow, and we'll make our way into a seat. Sitting up nice and tall, grounding into the sit bones. Let's inhale, reach the arms up overhead, and exhale, hands down through heart center. Inhale, reach up. And this time, right hand is going to come over to the ground. Left arm is going to reach up and over. Take a lateral bend. If it feels better for you, you can maybe come down onto your elbow. Sinking that left hip down. And then let's switch it out. Left hand comes down, right arm reaches up. Really pull that shoulder back. Let's inhale through center, reach both arms up, and we're going to twist it over towards the right. Left hand is going to find that right knee, gentle twist. Opposite hand can come behind you. And let's switch it out. Slowly crawl to the other side. And we'll come back through center, plant the hands in front of the knees. Let's come back into that tabletop position. Tuck the toes under, drop the belly slightly, and lift the hips up nice and high. Let's come back into our downward facing dog. Let's take the right foot and step it in between the hands. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead, crescent lunge. Drive that right knee forward, but keep it stacked right on top of the right ankle. Left leg is nice and straight behind you. Take your right hand and reach it back, left arm forward. So twisting to the right, right hand is going to find the left hamstring, left arm is going to reach up nice and high. Take a deep breath in, and then we'll switch it to warrior 2. Back foot's going to turn parallel to the back of the mat, right toes face forward. Gaze over the right fingertips. And let's inhale, straighten through that front leg, reach the arms up overhead, star pose. Take a nice deep breath in, reach back, and then exhale, let's fold here. Bend the knees so you can keep your back straight, and then maybe bring your fingers to the ground or on some blocks. Relax the head, relax the jaw. Let's inhale, halfway lift. Walk the hands back to the front of the mat. Plant the hands, step that right foot back to join the left. Let's drop it down onto the knees. Come all the way down onto the belly. Inhale to lengthen, lift up. And exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Let's inhale that right leg nice and high again. And we're going to step that right knee behind the right wrist, drop that left leg down onto the ground, and we're setting up for half pigeon. So for this one, you can take a block underneath your left hip, or your right hip rather, puff up the chest, sit up nice and tall, and then slowly start to lower yourself down. So option to rest your forehead on a block. We really want to think about sitting that right hip down. So if your booty is a little far away from the ground, take a block and just stick it in between your right hip and the floor. You can rest your head on a block if you'd like. Stretching out the piriformis of that right leg to help make sure our hips are in proper alignment with our low back. Breathe here. One more deep breath in, and we'll start to walk up onto our hands. We're going to tuck the left toes under, kind of slide that left knee up, and we'll just kind of extend that right leg back. So tabletop position, shake that right leg out, and then we'll bring that right knee back down onto the ground, tuck the toes under, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Let's take that left foot and step it in between the hands. Rise up, crescent warrior, push the hips. Push the right hip forward, left hip back. Stack that left knee on top of the left ankle. Back leg is nice and straight and strong. Reach the right arm forward, left arm back. Find a little twist, find a little balance. Left hand can find the right hamstring. Right arm is going to reach up. Deep breath in. Warrior two, left foot forward, right foot back. Right foot parallel to the back of the mat. And then let's go ahead straight in through that left leg. We'll find that same wide leg forward fold here. Hands come down onto the mat to relax the head, relax the jaw. If you need more this time, maybe grab for the outside of the feet, bend the knees as much as you need to. We'll take a few deep breaths here. Let's inhale, halfway lift. Slowly crawl the hands over to the front of the mat. We'll plant the hands, send that left foot back to join the right. Lower all the way down onto the belly. Inhale into your cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take that left leg and bring that left knee behind the left wrist. Slide that right leg out nice and long. Sit up nice and tall. Now I'll notice on this side, my left hip is quite far away from the ground. So option for me to stick that block underneath my seat, and we'll crawl it forward into half pigeon. Deep breaths here. Really breathing into that left hip. If this feels a little much, just stay up on the hands or even put a block under there if you feel unsupported. A few more deep breaths. And when you're ready, we'll come back up onto the hands. Remove whatever block you have. Let's tuck the right toes under, slide that right knee forward. Tabletop with that left leg extended, shoot it back. Take some circles. And then we'll just kind of scooch our knees forward and come to our back. So let's come grab a block and come onto your back. Bring the feet close to the glutes. Knees bent, feet down on the ground. And we're going to come into supported bridge. So grab your block. We're going to slowly ground down into the heels, and we're going to lift our seat away from the ground. We're going to slide a block underneath our sacrum. So that bony part right underneath your low back, right above your tailbone. If the middle setting is too high, you can always drop it down to the low setting. So find whatever works for you. And then when you're ready, option to keep the feet underneath the knees if that feels like this is enough already, or maybe crawl the feet out a little bit longer. So what we're doing here is we're stretching the psoas, a muscle that is connected to the front of our spine. And when it's tight, it can pull our low back forward and cause pain when we lay on our back or when we try to stand up or climb stairs. So this will help to open the hips, extension of the spine, helping to push any spinal fluid forward. So also helping with herniated or bulging discs. A few more deep breaths. When you're ready, we'll start to walk the feet back underneath the knees, gently lift the hips, slowly roll all the way back down onto your spine. And we're just gonna kind of bring the knees together. If you want a little bit more, you can bring the shins over parallel to the ground. But we're just gonna gently twist. So we're just gonna drop the knees over to the left. If you wanna stack right on top of left, right shoulder is gonna stay planted, gaze is gonna go to the right. And just kind of let your body decide how deep it wants to go in the twist. And then when you're ready, just nice and gently let the low back come all the way back down on the mat, and we'll just drop the knees to the other side. Deep breaths. And when you're ready, we'll come back through center. And let's come back into the fetal position and roll ourselves back into a seat. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's take the hands and the fingertips behind the back, puff up the chest, take a little back bend, open up. Then exhale, release back down. Hands in prayer. Namaste.